Let's not forget China's support of Russia as Russia creates death and destruction in Ukraine. Vladimir Putin is expecting a visit from Xi Jinping this spring. This would be the second in-person meeting for the two leaders since the start of Russia's war on Ukraine, Jonathan. Your thoughts on Beijing's support of that war?
Well, that's right, Maria, and you and I have been talking about this for quite some time now, and Beijing is absolutely behind this war. I mean, they're essentially bankrolling Putin through trade. I mean, they're the ones who are buying his energy, and their companies are still there. I mean, the whole list of Chinese corporates is still in China, still in Russia, doing business, and the Chinese ambassador immediately after the invasion called for Chinese companies to step in and essentially capture market there as Western companies were stepping out. So, there's economic support, there's diplomatic support, there's an enormous amount of ideological support, and they're playing a relatively successful double game by continuing to sort of lead us along by the nose, thinking that perhaps there will be a rift in the Russia-China relationship. There's no rift. Yeah. They got started on this nearly 10 years ago. I mean, in 2014, when Putin seized Crimea, and then China began building the islands in the South China Sea that have been fully militarized now. I mean, they've been pushing against American interests in Europe and Asia in a coordinated way for a decade. Their military exercises have increased in pace. I mean, just in the past 12 months, they've had multiple exercises with nuclear bombers.
Even coming close to American aircraft.
It's a pretty long list.
It's even coming close to American aircraft.
It's a very long list. The case against China is just enormous at this point. And the time for action, that's our biggest challenge in America. Can we act? We know we can talk about it.
Yep.
Can we act?
What should be the priority of the China Select Committee run by Representative Mike Gallagher?
Economic strategy. America needs a theory of victory in the economic arena, and we need to do containment. And you do that along the lines of technology. That started. The Biden administration has started with the export controls, and you have to cut down U.S. investment into China. And I think we have to hold the capital flows and their creators accountable. I mean, things like MSCI and BlackRock, which are continuing to create investment vehicles into our primary adversary. I would have them in front of that committee if I were Mike.
Well, it's a great point. I'm glad you raised it, because what we are essentially doing is we are funding the expansion of communist China with all of these ETFs and index funds that are investing in the very companies that are tied to the Chinese Communist military that may very well turn on America at some point as well.